The Marvel Cinematic Universe has been entertaining fans for the last decade, bringing us more than a dozen great characters in 19 very entertaining movies. But which films are the best films? That's exactly the question we're going to answer here today. This is how I would rank every MCU film, and in an effort to keep this video from being over an hour long, I'm only going to give a couple of points for each movie, so let's go. Let's start with my least favorite film in the MCU. Coming in at number 19, Iron Man 3. Now, I consider this to be the weakest link. The Mandarin is by far the worst villain in the whole MCU, and the movie does very little to move the franchise forward. That's why this is the bottom of the barrel for me. Next at number 18 is The Incredible Hulk. I've got this one near the bottom because Edward Norton's departure from the role is pretty jarring, and it messes up the continuity of the MCU pretty bad. Not only that, but the Hulk looks completely different, and if I'm being honest, I usually skip this movie altogether when I'm binging Phase 1. At number 17, Iron Man 2. Now, despite bringing more characters to the table, like War Machine and Black Widow, Iron Man 2 has just another mediocre villain in Whiplash, and another continuity-crushing casting change in Don Cheadle taking over for Terrence Howard. At number 16, Captain America: The First Avenger. Now, even though this movie has one of my favorite villains, Red Skull, and is a very important piece in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this movie is one of the slowest moving and has some of the most boring scenes in the entire MCU. At number 15, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now, it's a pretty solid sequel that expands on the already vibrant Guardians universe, but the movie's not even close to being as good as the first Guardians. That's all I gotta say. At number 14, Thor. Again, like Cap's first film, this one is a very important piece in establishing the MCU, but this one is very slow and also has a whole lot of boring parts. But it does give us our very first taste of magic and mysticism in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. At number 13, Avengers Age of Ultron. Now, despite giving us a few more new characters and some very important components to the MCU's overarching storyline, Age of Ultron is one of those movies in the bunch that seems to just get worse each time you watch it, and it's arguably the cheesiest of the bunch. At number 12, Thor: The Dark World. Now, this movie is the MCU's first that takes the adventure off Earth and brings another Infinity Stone into the mix. Now, this movie is at the bottom of most people's lists, but I'm convinced that had this come out after Guardians of the Galaxy, people would have been a lot less bothered by the change of scenery in space and these other dimensions, and they probably would have liked it a whole lot more. Coming in at number 11, Ant-Man. Now, this movie genuinely surprised me when it came out. It has some of the best comedy of any Marvel Studios film and some of the most creative and original action sequences. But it suffers from Marvel's bad habit of pitting a hero against an enemy that has pretty much the exact same abilities. Moving on to number 10, Iron Man. It's the film that started all of this. It set the standard for what we've come to expect from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's hard to criticize this movie because it's just so good. I don't have anything else to say. Moving on to number 9, Avengers. This movie raised the bar to new heights. It marked the first time that every hero from Marvel Phase 1 appeared on the screen at the same time, and for fans it was like nothing they've ever seen before. It also marks the very first time that we get to see Thanos on screen, which maps out the MCU's path towards the Infinity War. Next at number 8, Black Panther. It's one of the most successful at the box office and socially impactful of all the Marvel movies. Black Panther also opens the door to yet another world that we've not yet seen and brings us one of the greatest villains the MCU has produced yet, Killmonger. Coming in at number 7, Doctor Strange. This is yet another vital chapter in the MCU and is more visually stunning than any other film in the run. And, in my opinion, is one of the most perfectly cast characters. No one else could portray Doctor Strange better than Benedict Cumberbatch. Moving on, at number 6, Captain America: Civil War. In Civil War, we see just about all of our favorite heroes face off in what I consider to be the single greatest fight sequence in the entire MCU. It also introduces us to two of the most important characters in Phase 3, Black Panther and Spider-Man. Speaking of Spider-Man, coming in at number 5, Spider-Man: Homecoming. Now, for a character that's already gone through 2 franchises on the big screen, Marvel Studios is more than successful in bringing Spider-Man into the MCU. Not only is this incarnation of Spidey my favorite, he also faces one of the better villains in the entire universe, Michael Keaton's Vulture. That brings us to number 4, Guardians of the Galaxy. In another important chapter, the MCU reaches a new level of science fiction and comedy thanks to writer-director James Gunn. This ragtag group of idiots are some of the most lovable characters in all of these movies, and they take us on one of the most thrilling adventures in all of the MCU. And that brings us to number 3, Thor Ragnarok. Now, I may be a bit biased because Thor is my favorite Avenger, but Thor Ragnarok took what was already great about Thor and Asgard and turned it on its head, making it less Shakespearean and more like Guardians of the Galaxy. This is hands down the funniest MCU film and has some of the biggest action sequences in all of the movies. Moving on to number 2, Captain America Winter Soldier. Marvel goes political thriller in this one that completely changes the MCU landscape when S.H.I.E.L.D. is dissolved. This one has some of the most exhilarating and suspenseful scenes in all of the MCU. We're introduced to Falcon and Bucky Barnes as one of the most intimidating MCU villains, the Winter Soldier. And now we've come to the big boss, no pun intended. My number 1 favorite MCU movie is Avengers Infinity War. Now, in my mind, it goes without saying that Infinity War stand in the top spot. It has all led up to this, 19 movies paving the way for the ultimate showdown. I mean, Infinity War is connected to and pulls pieces from just about every movie that came before it. I mean, we get just about all of our favorite Avengers sharing the screen in one movie. And for the cherry on top, we get Thanos, who is easily the best villain Marvel Cinematic Universe has seen. And you know what? It was easily one of the most emotional cinematic experiences I've ever had. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this all plays out leading up to the next Avengers movie. Well, that's it. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree with my list? In fact, I'd love to see what your rankings are, so if you want, go ahead and share in the comments below and I'll check them out. And if you'd like to see me do more content like this on my channel, or if you have any other ideas, please let me know down below. Don't forget to like this video and smash that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys at the movies.